Hello everybody, welcome to the Solo Adventurer with me, Christian Chiller. I am quite weary today, and it's suddenly, we've had the time change here in Berlin, so it's very dark and gloomy, and I'm not in my place where I have proper lights with me, so it's a little bit atmospheric, shall we say. But I'm going to do something a little different this time, something I've been intending to do for some time, which is interactive fiction instead. And in this solo adventurer, where I play solo roleplay games, board games, storytelling games, I'm going to be playing Creatures Such as We by Linea Glasser. It was a winner of interactive fiction in 2014, so a few years old, something of a classic, I guess we could say. And in the next 45 minutes to an hour, I'll see how far I get. I'm just going to switch. What I'm going to do is, in this case, I think I will just go to a browser window because that's all I'm going to need. So if you give me a minute to sort that out. There we go. Oh. Damn it. Maybe I won't then. Maybe I'll stick to what I normally do. There we go. I'll definitely make that font quite a bit larger. Okay. So yes, Creatures Such as We by Linea Glasser, available from Choice of Games. And Linea has more games here as well. It's also available on all sorts of platforms for apps, as you can see down the bottom. But let's begin. You wash your face with astringent and brush your teeth with the smallest dab of toothpaste, rinsing with as little water as you could spare. It's so much work, so much sacrifice, living up on the moon, living anywhere really. Life is hard, and it's nice to play a story where it's not, where everything is simple and easy. It's calming, reassuring, makes all the sacrifice, all the strife feel worthwhile. You set your walkie-talkie down on a nearby drawer and lean back against the chair backing at the foot of your bed. You close your eyes as Creatures boots up. The loading music alone just melts the mundane away. It's delicious. Your ashen undead avatar walks towards the rubble as your ghost companion, Elegy, scouts ahead. These ruins are all that's left of your former base, a casualty to the crusade of traditionalists and internal treachery. Elegy perks at something, then flits back and enters your body. The screen sparkles blue and the GUI updates as your powers mingle. Thanks to heightened senses, you are now aware of the nearby enemy guard. The first one is always the easiest, of course, but the combat will cascade into a heavy hack and slash. This is going to be fun. What's your preferred combat style? Before we go any further, I'm just going to open up chat. I forgot about that. There we go. I'll pop that over there. Excellent. Okay. My preferred combat style: guns, stealth melee, biting and clawing, channel ghost powers. I feel like channeling ghost powers is really the obvious option here. Bring this up a little bit. There we go. Elegy delights in helping channel ethereal power into flaming balls of energy, which your avatar flings at the guard. She slams against the wall and crumples. An alarm sounds. They know you're here. You progress through the compound, dispatching more and more guards. You pass piles of undead corpses and ectoplasmic ash, evidence of their cruel conquer. You will make sure this never happens again. Your mastery of the controls is an unstoppable force that leaves none alive, And then, in a flurry of magically enhanced efficiency, you are there. The command center, the final boss chamber. Your avatar's arrival interrupts a woman who is tapping away at a console from behind her personal glass blast shield. She turns to you as you enter to give the speech, and you smirk in preparation. I am sorry. So sorry for the what you have become. I should have been better. I should have been stronger about stopping it. I failed you. I failed you all. After my son, I realized how much time I had wasted with speeches, with words. I had to take real action. So I'm here, saving humanity, saving it against your kind. And I know you're still human in there somewhere. Please stop this. Let humanity resurface. Stop being the monster. That was not exactly what you expected. You're given options on how to respond. Just attack, taunt her, ask for sympathy, offer to talk things out, offer to join her. So they failed us, wasted time. 100% sure what's going on yet. So I am here saving humanity. Saving it your kind. What is my kind? Let's think. I'm asking her for sympathy? Offer to talk things out. I'm kind of in a middle ground here. I'm not quite sure where to go. So let's offer to talk things out. Your avatar takes a few steps forward at walking speed. Listen, I want to end the bloodshed, the pointless feud. Would you agree to a truce, an agreement, or even just a plain ceasefire? Let us work together towards peace. She sighs at this. Very noble, but unfortunately that can really only be achieved when your kind is all dead. I'm sorry that you brought this on yourself. She hangs her head and quietly pulls out a small remote device that she points at some nearby electronics. She presses a button and strange lights and noises fill the room. They hurt your ears, so you turn the headphone volume down a bit. The ghost companion floats forward, howling in agony, and then freezes in front of your avatar. The noise, the light, it's Elegy's resonance frequency, but how? They're supposed to be so specific as to be impossible to discover. The traitor. It must be the traitor who gave Elegy's frequency to them. Oh man, you haven't found the traitor yet. They must be the final boss, or maybe a teaser for the sequel. Lores turns to you. You know what is happening. Turn yourself over, allow yourself to be destroyed, and I will turn this off. The ghost will be saved from eternal dissolution. Turn yourself over, attack Lores, attack the equipment. I still feel like we should take a middle path here. Let's attack the equipment. Without the additional help of your ghostly powers, you're as slow and sluggish as a regular, untrained human. Your avatar makes it a few feet before two monstrous guards pop out. You attempt to fight them, but your unassisted combat skills are subpar. You only manage to get one to half health by the time they beat you, stun you, and drag you over to a cage under command of Lores. How brave of you, Ghost Whisperer. Pity you're no match for my Zurabra guard. Now tell me, didn't you ever wonder how we got in, how you managed to have such a knack for staying alive? Realization dawns on both yourself and your avatar simultaneously. The villain gestures at Elegy and states the obvious. It traded your life for information, the access codes, its resonance frequency, she chides. Pity that you threw your end of the bargain away. Betrayal. Elegy betrayed everyone for you. It's your fault. Elegy's fault. Your avatar turns to the ghost. Okay, here's our options. Why did you do it? I'm sorry, I had to end like this. You shouldn't have done it. I forgive you. I can't forgive you. You shouldn't have done it. Take that option, I reckon. Your avatar kneels in resignation, but then the camera pans out and the audio fades. Something is wrong. The camera immediately zooms back in on Elegy, still vibrating more furiously than ever. It is... Lores leans towards it incredulously. A bright flash. Time warps to a near stop. For a brief moment, Elegy solidifies into a human shape and turns to your character. A sad, pale blue figure. It mouths, sorry, and then closes its eyes. Time snaps back and your companion condenses into a miniature black hole. Or at least that's what the pulsing energy sphere pulling everything into itself reminds you of. Your avatar's body rag dolls against the side of the cage. The guards are sucked in. Lores is pulled towards it, but she has the fortitude to grab some nearby pipes and scream. But even the words are pulled into the void as the camera wipes to darkness. Over the darkness, with accompanying flash forwards, your character narrates aloud what will happen next. They'll give me an award for this. They'll rebuild, put me in charge out of pity, but it won't mean anything. It won't mean anything without Elegy. I wish I could go back and redo it all. A cutscene triggers, focusing on your outstretched hands. They clench into a fist before the camera pans to catch the black hole thing as it dissipates. Then the game fades out to black and the credits start rolling. Wait, what? They can't have killed Elegy just like that. You must have done something wrong, something preventable. You've been a fan of the Collected Game Studio for a while now, and you've never known them to just pull a dick move like this. So, what was it? Should be better at combat. I should have sent Elegy away. I didn't say the right things to Lores. It was not preventable. I mean, knowing games, maybe we'll go for the first option. There were several points where you failed at combat, but the game let you continue anyway. It was those points, that's where you messed up. You should have worked harder, been better, you just weren't good enough to get to the good ending. But then, how could you ever win with hard mode, without any ghost powers? You'd have to be a god. You'll have to find a way to fix it. You've unlocked story mode, which you're more and more certain is a sign that replay towards a good ending is encouraged. You power down the device and push the computer back up against the wall. You get into the covers and turn it over in your head more. Maybe this internal conflict is a response that the designers wanted, but it doesn't feel satisfying. It doesn't feel right. You just wanted a good ending. As you Velcro up your blanket, you wish that your scheduled internet browsing time wasn't a week away. You'd really like to look up the answer. You wake up and unstrap yourself from the bed before stumble bouncing into the small bathroom. Your stomach is still in knots over that ending. It was a total existential punch in the gut, and now you're supposed to go out there and wow a bunch of snot-nosed tourists? You moan and stare into your mirror, really looking at yourself. Is this who you really are? Ooh, shall I be myself or shall I be someone else? I might go for near retirement. Near retirement, Northern African. Other gender. Still not 100% sure what I am, but let's say if you haven't really established what race I am or anything like that, I think, then let's go for I've forgotten the word. I have no idea how to spell it, so maybe I'll go for Oops. I can't really think of the right word. So for 3 at once. Gotcha. At this point in your life, you didn't think you'd be playing glorified tour guide on the moon, but at least you're good at it, and in a few years you'll be able to cash out. They pay pretty well for the isolation, tight living schedules, and the minor bone loss. You sigh into the mirror. New clients today, which is always a stressful unknown. You passingly wonder if you have time to go through character creation in creatures, but decide better of it. You can be patient. It's just one work cycle until you can game again. At any rate, you'd better get ready. You climb in for a military shower, rinse, turn off water, suds up, then rinse again. A process that would be cold if the bathroom weren't equipped with a heater to keep you warm. As you lather up, you can't help but dwell on the ending of the game. It just seems so sudden, so without resolution. It's frustrating. You play games to have something happy and positive in your life. This was just depressing. You deal with that enough in real life. Failure, death. So why did they go with this ending? Why did they make a game that was unwinnable? The mixture of realism or sort of going between the first 3. Anyone in chat have any suggestions? Let's go for the first one. It's more interesting than the kind of industry specific, I suppose. They wanted to make a game that would stick with you, that would keep you thinking about it, dwelling on it. They intentionally wanted to cause you turmoil, to make you invested in the game and then pull one of these kinds of tricks on you. But it worked. You can't stop thinking about it. Maybe this was supposed to be the encouragement they wanted so that you convince yourself to replay it, to go back and make things better. You rinse yourself off and step out to air dry in the warmth of the heater, still turning the ending over in your mind. Someone set out to make a game that was intentionally designed to put you through this kind of internal turmoil. Even if it's fixable, you sunk hours and hours into an experience that left you feeling depressed. That is not what you paid for. I mean, the last option is kind of what I thought earlier, so let's go for that. Maybe we'll get a better ending when we're playing in story mode. This time, you'll have the benefit of experience. You've got the mechanics better. You can avoid dead-end choices. It might even only be winnable in story mode, although that would be weird if it were true. Oh well, it will go better next time. You shake yourself out of the introspection and focus on the here and now, getting ready. It just seems so mundane, doing the same thing day after day just to stay in place. Bending yourself over backwards for this endless stream of disaffected tourists. Does it really matter? Well, of course it matters. It matters to you, to them, and very much to Space Joy. Every day you bring your best. Every day you are your best. You glance over at the makeup box. As director of activities, the company prioritizes materials that make you look more professional. It's a privilege that many of your co-workers aren't afforded, so you're always split between not squandering it and not flaunting it. Let's take a drink whilst I think. Seeing as I'm a 3 at once gendered retirement, I might go for extra flair. Oops. You put in some fun lines and colours, but draw some extra attention to your eyes by adding little freckles of colour below and to the sides of your eyes. Perfect. Extravagant styles always make guests feel like they're in a more futuristic environment. You look at yourself one last time in the mirror. You smile. Seeing yourself so put together helps reassure you. You're doing pretty well with your life when it comes down to it. Maybe you're not doing what you originally wanted, but your job's important to you, and you're good at it. One of the best. You adjust your hair, and then head on out. Maybe this week will be better. You meet with a few stewards at the docking bay. They shy away from you as always, but at least they still nod to acknowledge your presence. The facility shakes as the shuttle lands, right on schedule. It's nice when there aren't any delays. The interior door starts its opening sequence. At the final click, you switch on that interstellar smile just in time to meet 6 new guests. There's something that feels familiar about them, but you can't quite place it. You launch into the prepared intro. I hope you're all ready for a fantastic week of leaving the mundane worries of Terran life behind. You are now officially astronauts, explorers, moonwalkers. Welcome to Space Joy's Moonbase 14. You gesture about the passageways of the facility before upping your chipper for the excited paperwork announcements. IDs out, please. I'll need to check everyone in. Also, I'm authorized to stamp your passports if you would like. You step to a nearby podium and the tourists start shambling towards it. You scan the passenger list and your breath halts. They're the designers. The designers of creatures such as we, also flesh weavers, soul traffic, and ether wings, the backbone of collected games. They're here. What are they doing here? Oh man, are they planning out their next game? That would be so cool. And well, even though they kind of dropped the ball with creatures, it's not that big of a deal. And maybe they'll do better with their next project. I think I can just go for a somewhat innocent sort of fan person. It'd be cool to see where they're going in the future. This will be fun. You're always grateful for someone other than the self-obsessed rock star or pampered explorer, but this goes above and beyond. A group of people that might actually be interesting. You might even get a peek into their creative process. It's only fair that after all the fun they've provided for you, that you'll have a chance to return the favor. Maybe later you can ask them about the game, find out the easy way if you did something wrong, or at least figure out what the hell they were thinking. The first guy pushes forward his ID with a small waving motion, triggering a realization that you've been drifting off. You blush deep red. This isn't the most professional first impression, and your co-workers are watching. You swipe through the list with one hand whilst you examine his ID in the other. You check his facial features against his ID. He responds to the examination by smirking into the exact chiseled grin pictured on his ID. Hazel eyes with darker skin and black hair cut tight. He's somewhat heavy, but he carries himself well. You checked off Andreas Ingrid, lead designer, from the list. He pulls the card back and leads against the podium. I like your efficiency. Man, Space Joy really has it together. I'm glad to have you aboard. That'll be pleasant for now. Andreas chills his smirk into a more modest grin. Hey, glad to be here too. I'm really looking forward to it. Well, gift shop time. He peers in through the passageway entrance, shouting back to the rest of the group. Hey, check it out. The original microtransaction model. It elicits a few chuckles, but they all seem a bit tired out. He hangs back at the entrance, waiting for the rest of the group to get checked in. The woman behind him sidles up to your right side. She has a bony, long face with an even longer, straight black hair. She looks over at your check-in tablet, sighs, and then clicks her tongue in disapproval. You pause your finger over her name on the list and look up at her. She backs off immediately. I sorry, it's not you. I just did some work on the back end of that program, and you see that drop down. Well, I still don't think the GUI editor's quite represented the functionality right. She blushes and pushes some of her hair in front of her face. Oh, I'm sorry again, I just get wrapped up. She trails off. There's a hint of an Indian accent that matches her skin, but it feels mixed with something else. You can't quite tell. You swipe off Sadri Connor, lead programmer, from the list. It's slightly confusing. Who's she talking to? Not sure. I might go for a little bit more of a blunt comment here. It must be frustrating having someone mess up the system you're implementing. She backs up and looks at you strangely. Yes, well, I suppose so. Andreas leans against the wall. She's a great perfectionist. Really has an eye for that sort of thing. I'm lucky to know her, and what a math whiz. He waves her over and points towards the gift shop. She joins him and looks in. Interesting layout. An expensive centerpiece surrounded by the cheapest objects in the shop. Must trigger a lot of impulse purchases. She trails off as the two of them step inside and get wrapped up in window shopping. A younger man steps forward and tilts his head into a sweetly disarming grin. He has a wiry frame and a smooth face, his dark skin mixed with an East Asian facial structure. This place is just gorgeous, but it must be rough having to deal with the rich pricks all the time. You startle. You're not accustomed to that kind of cutting honesty from guests. You check off James Meng, lead QA, from the list. You can't cop to a sucky job. Well, you can, but you really shouldn't to a guest. Well, it's definitely a great place to visit. Why not? I'm sorry, there is a car alarm going off in the background. Not sure if you can hear it, hopefully not. He nods his head and crinkles his mouth in a suppressed laugh. I get what you're saying. He starts to step away and then turns back to you. Hey, by the way, do most people usually jump around right away, or do they wait until they're alone? I'm just curious if you're following expected protocol or being ridiculously polite. But before you can even make to respond, he raises his hand in apology. Actually, I shouldn't hold up the line. You probably get jerks who do that all the time. I'll just wait. He walks off to the side and starts testing out small hops. An older woman approaches the podium next. Frizzled hair salted with greys and a pale face without any makeup. Her dreamy smile evaporates into embarrassment. She doesn't have her ID out. She pats over her suit in a panic and then backs off, waving ahead the next woman in line. Unfortunately, that lady is wrapped up in an electronic device, completely oblivious to the awkwardness unfolding in front of her. You clear your throat loudly. That doesn't get the second woman's attention. James looks up from his moon hops to watch the situation unfold, and you hear a, hopefully unrelated, burst of laughter from inside the gift shop. The woman finally finds her ID. Oh, sorry, she grins sheepily. I was just thinking about what sort of ghosts might be found in a place like this, and I got a bit lost in it all. Her accent is distinctly Midwestern. You check off Diana Thorne, head writer, from the list. James tries to reconcern himself in the jumping, but it's obvious that he was hoping for something a bit more exciting to have shaken out. You focus your attention on Diana. Second option, I reckon. You'll have to tell me their stories. She grins almost wickedly. Well, give me a few days to feel out the setting first. I find stories tell themselves from the environment. She tilts her head, fixating on something inside the gift shop, and moves around the podium in a path that does not match her gaze. You amaze at the fact that she doesn't bump or trip on anything. James attempts to wave her down, but she doesn't notice and enters the gift shop. James shrugs and then follows after her. Hey, Diana, how do you like some armor made of moon? His voice trails off. The next woman is shorter and somewhat heavy-set. You feel she's Asian, perhaps Pacific Islander. She's completely absorbed in her device. The glare reflecting of her large glasses. You clear your throat a second time. More forcefully. She startles, putting the device into a pocket while sizing you up. You hear a faint mumbling. Proportions, and then nothing else. She adjusts her glasses and then belatedly catches herself. Oh, I carried away there. Would you mind terribly if I sketched you? You smile politely at Rencho, art director, as you check her in. I'd be honoured. And she looks over at you, then smiles by closing her eyes. Fantastic, she adds before stepping aside. As she leans against a nearby wall, Ren glares at the last guy in line. He's been hanging back this whole time and seems even now hesitant to move up. He gives Ren a half smile, and then she quickly pulls her device back and buries her face in it. You hear more laughter and chatter from the gift shop as the rest of the group pour out. The last guy seems to realize that he can no longer delay his check-in. He's pasty white and slightly older, but built with shoulder-length bleached hair. You catch a glimpse of a white shell necklace under his spacesuit. He takes a deep breath and walks up. He stares past you awkwardly and breathes way too heavily. You follow procedure, despite there being only one person he could possibly be. Name? You cordially ask, attempting to get him to focus. He procures ID, affirming Grant Norrell. Strange. He's not part of the development team, at least not that you recognize. Could he be a new addition? He leans against the podium and attempts to carry a conversation, running his fingers through sweaty hair as he fumbles out. And you are? You almost feel bad for the man as you point to your name tag and say your first name aloud. Oops. I am Fellaine. Very nice. I like the way it introduces the character a little bit like Alone Against the Flames, actually. So, yeah, anyway. His eyes flutter as what you say seems to barely even register. Fellaine. Did I get that right? His sweating intensifies. He must be really nervous around people. But it's your job to smile and accommodate. Yeah. I politely correct him. I'm not sure what he said instead. You are cheerfully insistent. Felan, I don't know. Not quite. It's Felan, you affirm. But by now, he's lost his ability to focus on words. He staggers a few steps, then vomits a slurry of liquid. Much of it splashes onto the floor, but a good amount stains the expensive company-owned shuttle suit. He compounds the stains by wiping his chin on the sleeve. The other guests drop their banter and stare at him, horrified. You glare at one of the stewards, who then drops what he was doing to get some cleaning supplies. You turn your attention back to the sick man. Well, that explains that. This is not exactly the smooth check-in that you were hoping for. He continues retching, now spitting out clear liquid and streaming apologies between gasping breaths. He clearly needs someone to escort him to the med bay. But it'll also take some professional charisma to lift the gloom this incident will impart on the rest of the group. You take the immediate action of notifying the medical staff with your walkie-talkie, but now it's time to deal with the disaster directly. You set aside your own personal annoyances and focus on asserting yourself professionally. You weigh options. Send him with the remaining steward or escort him yourself. So send him with the remaining steward, I guess. And smooth things over with the main group. It's your job to deal with making sure that all guests are comfortable, and there's nothing more discomforting than witnessing another person's distress. As another steward escorts Grant off, you address the group. Well, while it's rare, it can happen that some people get an upset stomach on the trip over. It's definitely not the most fun way to start out a vacation, but we have the best medical facilities that money can bring over. I'll catch him up in the amenities later. Your feigned lightness is good enough to fool them. You're met with nothing but more insidious than disaffected stares. Really, you have no idea why he got sick, and that is scary. All the precautions should have prevented regular motion sickness. But you need to stuff those doubts down and launch into the tour. Now, I guess I know these are game creators, and they seem to have an air for the dramatic. So I think I should go for scientific or brooding. Let's go for brooding introduction. You arch an eyebrow. I think I can actually do that. I'll not do it and also look at the camera to see what I'm doing. Our moon is one of the most beautiful, inhospitable places you can ever visit. It will afford you both the ability to truly see the universe, but also see your place in it. Here you can see into the infinity, into the unbending, and it will put your life in perspective. It will make you realize just how incredibly small we all are. Being here on the moon is the ultimate expression of humanity's triumph and limit. It's an eye-opening experience, one that will never leave you. You give a dramatic pause and allow them to contemplate on this. Hopefully it is theatrical enough to be distracting. Next, you point at the gift shop, trying not to cringe at having to deliver Space Joy's mandatory money spiel. Most of you have already had a chance to check it out, but you can find pieces of the trip that can make you into your own personal reminder of your time here. For convenience, all the items in there are display only. You'll be able to pick up any purchases when you return Earthside. Earth moon dust, or even moon dust. You wink. Diana yawns while Sadri whispers to Andreas about something from the shop. Ren tilts her game system at a strange angle as she taps and swipes at it. You relax a bit. They're fine. You just need to get through the rest of the tour. Technically, the first room you visit should be the med bay, but you know better than to follow off the trail of the sick guy. Where should you show them instead? The staterooms. I'm not sure what a stateroom is. I suppose where they're staying. Let's go for the recreation activity rooms. They may see my game, maybe. You lead them past the closed airlocks, describing the fun activities that will take place under Space Joy supervision. The gym and pool room, which will be filled with water by tomorrow, as the moonwalk prep room. You gesture to a window that shows off the brightly lit moonwalk area, and you take a break to let them crowd around and get their first real glimpse at a truly alien surface. It's a moment most tourists really get absorbed in, and almost everyone in your group gawks out with appropriately enraptured expressions. Ren, however, scowls at the view. I never realized the dust was so reflective. There's no way you can make that lighting look good. She returns to her device, glancing up occasionally. Sadri drams her hair behind her ears in determination as she turns to Ren. I think that, well, technology makes up for what we can't do ourselves. Ren gives a wry smile. But how exactly does that happen? She turns to you. You must take photographs up here. How do you account for all the glare? They were treated like snow. Conditions are similar. Sadri points out the window. You see, this place, it feels so exotic, so different, but it's all just the same as back on Earth. The same problems, the same solutions. It all breaks down just to the same. Ren seems unimpressed, except on the dark side of the moon, there's no sun. And even with light, I'm sure the angle is all wrong. Then the lack of atmosphere, the lens of oxygen in your helmet against the vacuum, all the details are wrong. It's an uncanny valley. Sadri rolls her eyes. Yes, but consider that metrics say that half the people don't even adjust their screen resolutions. They don't notice. You may be overestimating the importance of perfect graphics. Just figure out a way to make it work. Ren shrugs and presses her face back against the glass, while the rest of the tourists seem to have lost their interest in ambient gawking. Time to move on. Shall we continue? Let's go to their staterooms. You show them to their individual rooms. The quarters are pretty tight, but you're still proud to let them know that they each have their own private bathroom. Everyone pokes around their rooms, but James pops back out almost immediately and inundates you with questions. I'm really curious how this is all feasible. How do you get supplies like food and water? What about waste? And I noticed that the beds were all singles. How do you accommodate couples? And what about you? Do you stay up here for years or rotate around in monthly shifts? He bounces a bit in place. I'm sure you get lots of people bugging about stuff like this, but I don't see how it's all practical. Answer everything truthfully. Answer truthfully, glossing over the stickier details. Dodge the personal questions. Dodge everything. Dodge the personal questions. You take a deep breath. Well, we get regular shipments of food and grow or synthesize our own. We recycle the waste through plants, shrimp farms and other methods. A few of the walls between rooms are retractable, allowing beds to join together and double room size. You give a finalizing smile. He tilts his head. And what about you? What's your story? Is this a cool place to work or not? You avoid mentioning that you've got 3 of your 5 years left up here, instead answering confidently, I really like it here. The time seems to fly by. He tilts his head. Impressive reframing. He looks as though he's about to press you further, but instead notices the rest of the group pouring out and decides against it. You get the attention of the group. Shall we continue? Common rooms. Let's end the tour early, I think. You smile as bright as you can. And that's the end of the tour. You up the chipper to get everyone's attention. I'm sure you're all hungry, so let's have some real space food. By now, none of them seem all that concerned about Grant being sick. In fact, they seem perfectly at ease, a triumph you celebrate completely eternally. You usher them into the brightly lit dining hall and then dramatically reach for a nearby switch. Normally, we keep this lit with only minimal accent lights. You'll see why in a second. You flip the lights off, and on cue, they all gasp at the glass ceiling above. In the darkness, the universe is beautifully lit, unlike anything you can see on Earth. They remain fixated on the spectacle for well over a minute. This is the first group you've had in a while to actually take the time to appreciate and enjoy the amazing view. You even get swept up yourself, wiping away a tear. Just when you thought you'd gotten used to it all, the sheer beauty of the universe teases out from you the first real smile you've had all morning. That's nearly 3/4 of an hour. I'm just wondering whether to continue or wrap up there. I wonder if I can actually save it. I didn't really look to see how long it was going to be. Give me a quick second. Let's see. I think it saves our progress. I actually also just realized that can change all the settings here. How many of these things can I change? Only one. I'm guessing I can come back to this later. I may leave it there. That seems like a nice time to wrap up. So, just to recap, that was part 1 of Creatures Such as We by Linea Glasser. I'll actually just quickly switch back and show you the website. Here we go. Creatures Such as We. That's the credits page. There we go. By Linea Glasser. Oh, that's still the same page, sorry. Okay, there we go. That's the page we wanted. This nice little graphic here. Linea Glasser is the winner of the 2013 Interactive Fiction Competition, along with several awards. And you can find her on Twitter at Linea Glasser. Her blog documents her games along with game design notes made real stories. I'm actually interested to know what she used. I don't think it's Twine, so I'm interested to know what she did this in. But we will return to Creatures Such as We, part 2, I'm not sure of how many, next week on The Solo Adventurer. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can find previous episodes. I just did 3 parts of Alone Against the Flames, a solo Call of Cthulhu scenario, and I had many others before that. If you're into storytelling games, check out Gentleman Bandit or Ex Novo. I think you'll like those. And I think after this game, I'm going to try a D&D, Dungeons & Dragons solo scenario, and then maybe something a little different. We shall see. Over in Berlin at the moment, we've gone back, well, we're going back into, in a couple of days, into lockdown, unfortunately. So I'm going to have a little bit more time on my hands to experiment with setups and things like that. I'm also going to try and get better lighting in here, I've changed my camera, and it's doing some slightly odd things to my face. Maybe try and get a broader shot and things like that, but we'll come back to that very soon. But I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe on YouTube or Twitch, and you can see the links in the bottom corner there, and find more about me at christianschiller.com, including some of my game writing, including some of my fiction, my storytelling podcast, stories about people, and other things I do in the more tech vein. So, until next time, thank you very much for joining.